Right now, as you're watching this, 99% of people are making the exact same financial decisions. They're watching the same news, following the same trends, saving the same way, spending the same way, and getting the exact same results, which is to say, nowhere. The wealthy see a completely different world than the one you live in. And no, it's not because they have more money. It's because they have a different operating system running in their heads. Different eyes, different world. What if I told you that the gap between you and the ultra-wealthy has almost nothing to do with opportunity, talent, or even luck? What if the real difference is something so fundamental, so invisible, that the masses could never see it, even if it were staring them in the face? In the next few minutes, you're going to understand exactly how the rich think differently. And more importantly, why your current way of thinking is keeping you exactly where you are. This is the mental prison 99% of people never escape. Let's begin. Collective psychosis. Here's a question most people never think to ask. What if everything you believe about money was installed in your head by people who were also broke? Think about it. Your parents taught you about money based on what their parents taught them. Your teachers, most of whom never built wealth, told you to study hard, get a degree, get a stable job. The media feeds you stories of economic doom every single day. And slowly, over years, your brain built a model of reality that says, money is scarce, the system is rigged, and the best you can hope for is survival. It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. The wealthy see this for what it is, a collective psychosis. A shared hallucination where billions of people agree that scarcity is real, that fear is justified, and that playing it safe is smart. But here's what the masses can't see. Safety is the most dangerous financial strategy that exists. When everyone runs in the same direction, the wealthy run the other way. Not out of arrogance, out of clarity. Clarity over fear. Because they understand something the masses never will, consensus is the enemy of wealth. But this leads us to something even more unsettling. The invisible code. Every single day, your brain processes roughly 35,000 decisions. And here's the terrifying part. 95% of those decisions are automatic. They come from your subconscious programming. The code that was written before you were old enough to question it. The wealthy know this. They know that your financial reality isn't determined by your income, your education, or even your intelligence. It's determined by the invisible code running beneath your conscious awareness. Programming. When a wealthy person sees a business opportunity, their internal code says, "How can I make this work?" When the average person sees the same opportunity, their code says, "What if I lose everything?" Same opportunity. Completely different response. And that response was pre-programmed years ago by parents, by culture, by a society that rewards obedience over independent thought. Your financial thermostat was set before you ever earned your first dollar. The masses don't even know this code exists. They think their fear is rational. They think their hesitation is wisdom. But the wealthy, if this is starting to shift how you see your own financial blocks, hit like and subscribe to reprogram more of these invisible patterns. Because the next one might be the exact belief holding you back. And speaking of beliefs, what if the most dangerous one is the one you trust the most? Narrative trap. The masses consume narratives. The wealthy question them. Let me explain. Right now, there is a story being told about the economy, about which industries are dying, about which investments are safe, about what's coming next. And billions of people are absorbing this story without ever asking who wrote it and why. Whoever controls the narrative controls the world. The wealthy don't watch the news to stay informed. They watch the news to understand what the masses are being told so they can position themselves against it. When headlines scream recession, the wealthy see buying opportunities. When everyone panics about a market crash, the wealthy are already 3 moves ahead. This isn't inside information. It's a fundamentally different relationship with information itself. Question every narrative. The average person hears a financial report and adjusts their behavior. The wealthy person hears the same report and asks, what are they not telling me? What's the real play here? The narrative was never designed to make you wealthy. It was designed to make you predictable. And predictable people are profitable for someone else. The moment you stop consuming narratives, you start seeing opportunities. But this brings us to the core mechanism. The wealthy used to think independently. Contrarian mind. Warren Buffett said something that most people hear but never truly understand. Be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. This isn't just investment advice. It's an entire philosophy of thinking. The wealthy are contrarians by design, not because they enjoy going against the grain, but because they understand a fundamental mathematical truth. If everyone does the same thing, the returns go to zero. Think about this in your own life. When everyone was buying crypto at the peak, what did the wealthy do? They sold. When everyone was selling during the crash, what did the wealthy do? They bought. When everyone said real estate was dead, the wealthy loaded up on properties. Fear in, wisdom applied, wealth created. The masses move in herds because herds feel safe. But safety in numbers is an illusion when the entire herd is heading toward a cliff. Herd equals cliff. The wealthy train themselves to feel comfortable standing alone, to tolerate the discomfort of disagreeing with everyone around them. Comfort with being alone in your conviction is the price of financial freedom. And this leads us directly to the next invisible barrier the masses never overcome. Scarcity virus. There's a virus running in the minds of 99% of people. It's not a biological virus. It's a psychological one, and it was planted so early in your life that you don't even know it's there. It's called the scarcity virus. Scarcity. The scarcity virus makes you believe there's never enough. Not enough money, not enough time, not enough opportunity. It makes you hoard, cling, and protect instead of invest, share, and expand. The wealthy eradicated this virus from their thinking years ago. They operate from abundance. Not naive, wishful thinking abundance, but a calculated understanding that opportunities are infinite for those who know how to see them. 1. The masses say, I can't afford it. 2. The wealthy ask, how can I afford it? 3. The masses avoid risk to protect what little they have. 4. The wealthy embrace calculated risk to multiply what they have. These aren't just word games. They represent completely different neural pathways in the brain. Neuroscience has shown that scarcity thinking literally narrows your cognitive bandwidth. You make worse decisions. You see fewer options. You become trapped in survival mode. A man is but the product of his thoughts. What he thinks, he becomes. The wealthy protect their abundance, thinking like an immune system. And what comes next reveals exactly how they do it. Information diet. Here's something the masses find almost offensive when they first hear it. The wealthy are extremely selective about what enters their mind. They don't watch random YouTube videos all day. They don't scroll through fear-mongering news feeds. They don't engage in conversations about how bad the economy is. This isn't elitism. It's mental hygiene. Mental hygiene creates wealth. Think of your mind like a garden. The masses let every weed, every toxic thought, every fear-based headline grow unchecked. Then they wonder why nothing good is growing. The wealthy, they curate their information intake with the same discipline they apply to their investment portfolios. They read books that expand their thinking. They surround themselves with people who challenge them, not people who confirm their fears. They consume information that is actionable, not emotional. Your income is the average of the 5 information sources you consume most. Here's a practical test. Look at your last 24 hours of content consumption. News, social media, gossip, or books, podcasts, and conversations about building something. What goes in determines what comes out. The wealthy understood this before anyone else, and they guard their mental inputs with military precision. But even with the right inputs, there's a deeper layer the masses completely miss. Time perception. The masses and the wealthy live in completely different time dimensions, and this single difference might be the most important one of all. The average person thinks in days, maybe weeks. They want results now. They want instant gratification. They check their investments daily. They measure success in months. Short-term thinking is a poverty sentence disguised as practicality. The wealthy think in decades. They make decisions today that won't pay off for 5, 10, even 20 years, and they're perfectly comfortable with that timeline. Jeff Bezos didn't build Amazon for quick returns. He told shareholders for years that profit wasn't the priority, building infrastructure was. The masses would have panicked. The wealthy investors who understood long-term thinking became billionaires. Someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago. This isn't just about patience. It's about a fundamentally different perception of time itself. Think in decades. The masses sacrifice their future for present comfort. The wealthy sacrifice present comfort for an extraordinary future. Ask yourself honestly, which timeline are you living on? Because the answer to that question predicts your financial future with terrifying accuracy. And this connects directly to something the wealthy never do. Consensus poison. The wealthy have a rule that sounds almost antisocial. They never make financial decisions based on consensus. Never. When your friends say a stock is a great buy, that's exactly when the wealthy become suspicious. When your family says a career is safe and stable, the wealthy hear a warning bell. When society says this is the right path, the wealthy ask, right for whom? This isn't paranoia, it's pattern recognition. Throughout history, every financial disaster was preceded by consensus. Everyone agreed that real estate could only go up until 2008. Everyone agreed that tech stocks were bulletproof until the dot-com crash. Everyone agreed that certain currencies were stable until they collapsed overnight. Consensus is the graveyard of independent wealth. The masses find safety in agreement. The wealthy find danger in it. Because by the time everyone agrees on something, the profit has already been extracted by the people who saw it first, independently. If everyone at the table agrees, the smart money has already left the room. Agreement, decline, death of opportunity. The wealthy train themselves to listen to consensus and then do the opposite, not always, but enough to build extraordinary wealth while everyone else stays average. But there's one more piece to this puzzle that changes everything. Failure reframe. Here's where the gap between the wealthy and the masses becomes a canyon. It's not about what happens to them, it's about how they interpret what happens. The masses see failure as evidence that they should stop. The wealthy see failure as data that tells them how to adjust. Failure is data. When a wealthy person loses money on an investment, they don't spiral into shame and self-doubt. They analyze what happened, extract the lesson, and move forward with better information. When the average person loses money, they tell themselves a story. I knew it. I'm not meant to be wealthy. The system is rigged, and that story becomes their permanent reality. I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. This isn't just a motivational quote. It's the literal operating system of every self-made wealthy person who ever lived. Sarah Blakely, founder of Spanx, was asked by her father every night, "What did you fail at today?" And if she didn't have an answer, he was disappointed. He was installing a completely different relationship with failure into her mind. The wealthy don't fear failure, they fear the absence of attempts. Death, fire, rebirth, that's not just a metaphor. That's the cycle the wealthy repeat over and over. And this brings us to the final and perhaps most important difference: the awakening. Everything you've heard in this video comes down to one single, uncomfortable truth. The wealthy don't have access to secret information. They don't have superior genetics. They don't have some magical advantage the rest of the world lacks. What they have, the only thing they truly have, is a different way of processing reality. Perception. They question what others accept. They move when others freeze. They invest when others hoard. They think in decades when others think in days. They stand alone when others need the comfort of the herd. And they do all of this not because it's easy, but because they train themselves to see what the masses cannot. The matrix of poverty is not about money. It's about the mind that manages it. The good news: this isn't genetic. It's not inherited. It's learned. Every single mental pattern we discussed today can be installed in your mind if you're willing to do the work. 1. Question every narrative you've been fed. 2. Curate your information like your wealth depends on it. 3. Think in decades, not days. 4. Get comfortable standing alone in your convictions. The wealthy don't see a different world. They see the same world through completely different eyes. And now, so can you. The question isn't whether you can think like the wealthy. The question is whether you will. You've just seen behind the curtain. The invisible wall between the wealthy and the masses was never about money. It was always about the mind. Every belief you inherited, every narrative you accepted without questioning, every time you followed the crowd because it felt safe, that was the code keeping you exactly where you are. Reprogram your mind now. But here's what makes this moment different. Now you can see it. And once you see the pattern, you can never unsee it. Every headline you read, you'll ask, who benefits from me believing this? Every decision you make, you'll check, is this my thinking or the herd's thinking? Every failure you experience, you'll ask, what data is this giving me? The mind is everything. What you think, you become. The masses will continue making the same decisions, following the same patterns, and getting the same results. But you now have the awareness to break free. The question is, will you actually do it? If you made it this far, comment different eyes to prove you're among the few who truly see. Your mind is either programmed for wealth or poverty. Now you know how to reprogram it. If this video exposed your invisible code, subscribe. There's more to uncover.